The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
To satisfy your thirst. Have a drink. But when you're finished, be sure to toss the can or the bottle into a recycling bin. Each year, every household throws out an average of 500 aluminum cans and 500 glass bottles. Now, by recycling just one can, we can save enough energy to run a TV set for 3 hours. Think about what 500 could do. Hi, I'm Corey James. Welcome to Today's Environment, where we explore the issues affecting our planet and the solutions taking place to repair them. Did you ever look for something that was right in front of you? It's often the same way with our search for natural resources. While companies comb the earth looking for new deposits and reserves, they don't always realize the enormous amount of recoverable resources pouring into their waste stream. Let's take a look.
Toss it, flush it, bury it, dump it.
Too often, those are the only options considered for dealing with industrial waste. Now, in addition to multiplying our current pollution problems, companies across the country just may be flushing money down the drain.
Maybe it's time to choose some new waste handling options, like recycle it, recover it, and reprocess it. And the technology that makes these options practical may already be available. This technician specializes in waste reprocessing and works with one of several different technologies developed by Phillip Environmental for reclaiming natural resources from industrial waste streams. These new technologies allow us to take a different outlook on waste. Instead of seeing the waste as an unidentifiable conglomeration of industrial byproducts, innovative systems can separate many waste streams into their component parts of natural resources. One technology can take scrap or used electrical wire and return it to reusable metals and plastics. Another process handles liquid hazardous waste, treats it, and reclaims the metals in the effluent for resale. And still another system called ZIP can now turn hundreds of thousands of tons of electric arc furnace dust and convert it into zinc, lead, iron, and vitrified slag. Extremely high temperatures fired by plasma torches turn the dust into gases. The vapors can be condensed and processed into distinct reusable metals and then recondensed into zinc ingots, lead, and iron. The non-metallic compounds get vitrified or turned into glass and can be sold as abrasives or aggregates. Nothing gets wasted.
Reprocessing waste back to its component parts reduces the overwhelming demand for landfill space. It conserves the consumption of natural resources, and it helps prevent industrial pollution from reaching our air, land, and water.
Zero waste. Right now, it's a lofty goal for a futuristic society. But as the technology to reprocess, reclaim, and recycle waste advances, that elusive goal may become an achievable target on a not-too-distant horizon.
Xeriscape. It's a big word for a bright idea. Use native plants and grasses in your landscaping and save up to half the water you might otherwise require. Get involved with Today's Environment today.
Ask any kindergarten teacher what may be the greatest advancement in the last decade, and they'll probably tell you Velcro shoes. We adopted that technology for our space program, but it certainly adapted well to earthbound uses. Now here's another idea that comes from a reapplication of existing technology.
Surgery without a scar. Recent advancements in high-technology surgical tools can often give doctors the potential to get under our skin without leaving disfiguring marks. It's more than mere vanity. Less intrusion on the system often means quicker and safer recovery. That same thinking might also be applied to Mother Nature. Right now, across the nation, thousands of contaminated sites leak, drip, and dribble toxic chemicals into the soils nearby. Those pollutants often leach and migrate downward until they foul the pristine waters of an underground aquifer. Cleaning up this pollution traditionally required tearing up the surface of the site in order to excavate the contaminated soils and haul it away. Even extracting polluted groundwater with vertical wells requires complete access to the surface of the site. Unfortunately, contaminants often migrate beneath buildings or other structures which cannot practically be closed for intrusive site remediation. So in many of these cases, the problem often goes unresolved. But now, some innovative thinking may offer a new solution. This technician from Phillip Environmental Services is guiding a drilling tool under the ground. By boring a horizontal tunnel many feet below the surface obstructions, engineers can often gain the access they need to underground contaminants so that they can apply existing or newly developed remediation technologies like groundwater or soil vapor extraction, air sparging, and biological decay enhancements. Adapted from trenchless technology developed for the utilities industry, this flow mold system combines high-pressure fluid jets to cut through the soil with a sophisticated guidance system that tracks and steers the drill head past underground obstacles and right into the contaminated hotspots. Horizontal drilling can often give engineers better access to the contaminants than other methods without disrupting surface activities. It may sound like backward logic, but sometimes we may have to go sideways in order to move forward. In a moment, on Today's Environment, a knockout on emissions from factories and power plants, plus planet-friendly solvents for a cleaner future. Next.
Someone once said, a fine wine takes time. Well, that's also true with new technology. So while we're waiting for advancements to bring alternate energy sources online, it's important to improve the way we use our traditional sources. This may be a good example.
It's a 1-2 punch: acid rain and smog. Between our cars and our industry, exhaust emissions created a serious need to clean up the polluted air we breathe.
We don't have to look hard to find out what's responsible. Combustion, specifically the burning of fossil fuel for energy. Automobiles belch their exhaust into the sky every day, and furnaces at factories and power plants regularly release SOx, NOx, and other pollutants.
Improvements in reducing automobile emissions, as well as better ways to clean industrial and power plant exhaust, are positive steps towards facing the challenge of pollution. Some coal-burning power plants, like this one operated by Montauk Electric Company, a generating subsidiary of Eastern Utilities Associates, are adopting new technology to burn even cleaner. Recently, they hired Research Cottrell to supply a sophisticated flue gas treatment system called NOxOut. Developed by FuelTech, it can reduce the NOx emissions from the plant's boiler by as much as 60%. If those emissions were allowed to reach the atmosphere, they could react with other air pollutants to form ozone, one of the prime components of acid rain. The NOxOut system, however, intervenes between the flame and the atmosphere with a non-toxic spray of urea in water. When the hot gases from combustion come in contact with the atomized spray, it triggers a reaction that reduces the nitrogen oxides to the harmless components of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. There are no byproducts or solid waste to dispose of. This new technology was added in order to respond to the tough Massachusetts clean air regulations, which are far more stringent than federal standards. This proactive response will help bring down the plant's NOx emissions to allowable levels before compliance becomes mandatory. Converting their low-sulfur fuel supply to an even lower sulfur coal will further improve the air around Massachusetts by reducing emissions of SOx. Ozone irritates the eyes and the respiratory system. If it can block this 1-2 punch on the environment, NOxOut technology could help put the Earth back in the champion's corner.
What goes up must come down. Helium balloons released into the air can choke whales, turtles, and other sea creatures. Hold on to that beautiful balloon and get involved with today's environment today.
Grease is the word. Certainly in many industries it is. To ensure machines function smoothly, lubrication is necessary. But equally important as applying the grease is the removal of it when cleaning. Today, most solvents pose environmental problems, creating another word, danger. This next segment explores an alternative.
Help is on the way. Every minute that passes becomes more precious than the next. An immediate response to a critical situation can mean the difference between life and death for an individual. But what about the life of a component? Is the sense of urgency just as great? Mechanical parts and metal devices are a few components that, if left unkept, could result in their burial at a dreaded landfill. But deciding on a cleaning solvent is difficult, considering the fact that so many are regarded as toxic and carcinogenic, contributing to 20% of the total CFC production. The solution, a replacement cleaning strategy. Leading the attack are scientists at the Los Alamos National Laboratory in combination with JAST, the Joint Association for the Advancement of Supercritical Fluid Technology. Together, they reassessed the cleaning process using supercritical carbon dioxide, and they're seeking to develop its use for environmentally friendly manufacturing. A fluid, once heated and pressurized above its critical point, becomes supercritical, exhibiting properties of both a gas and a liquid. CO2 is the most frequently used fluid because of its low-cost, non-toxic nature. When removing contaminated material from a component, supercritical CO2 is pumped into a cleaning chamber. Contaminants are quickly dissolved from even the smallest of regions. Upon completion, the pressure is dropped, expanding the volume of the supercritical CO2 to that of a gas, and at the same time allowing the contaminants to fall out of the solution. The contaminated material is collected in a separator, and the gaseous CO2 passes back into the flow stream to once again be used in the cleaning process. Varying temperatures and pressures can enable CO2 to remove a variety of contaminants. With funding from the Department of Energy, Los Alamos is also developing the use of CO2 as a replacement solvent for dry cleaning and potentially as a substitute in chemical production. Call it an alternative solvent for a cleaner future, because with continued use, pollution reduction and waste minimization are imminent. In addition, the recyclability of the CO2 may yield large energy and cost savings. Time is not on the sides of components. However, increased application of this solvent can extend their life in industries. And for our rapidly depleting ozone, well, technologies like this one may be an important part of its rescue and recovery. The Great Chesapeake Bay is on the road to environmental recovery, plus an electric vehicle update coming up next on Today's Environment.
If you've ever seen water run uphill, well, you were probably in Egypt. But I'll bet every time it rains in your neighborhood, whatever's on the ground washes downstream. So if there is anything on your lawn that you don't want in your water, watch this.
The Chesapeake Bay. Michener's novel, Chesapeake, brought the legend to life. Its enormous bounty of crabs, fish, and oysters provides a living for thousands, and its vast open waters fill the leisure hours of millions. But this picture doesn't tell the whole story. Pollution almost took the sparkle from this national treasure. Rivers, lakes, and streams from 6 states and the District of Columbia empty into the Chesapeake Bay.
When the rains flowed, they washed over streets, fields, and lawns, picking up animal waste, fertilizer, and pesticides along the way, in addition to improperly disposed of motor oil and hazardous household wastes.
As the human population sprawled across the land, the aquatic population plummeted dramatically. Fortunately, many stakeholders in this wondrous watershed came together to save the Chesapeake. Federal agencies like the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service formed partnerships with land users to improve the water quality of the bay. Homeowners and farmers are using fertilizers and pesticides more efficiently to cut down on the amount of harmful chemicals entering streams and rivers. Conservation practices, such as strip cropping, are voluntarily adopted to keep soil in place. Through composting, animal waste is converted into valuable fertilizer, and with modern grazing techniques, livestock feed on lush grass and water away from streams. Grass filter strips are also used to trap sediment and pollutants before they enter waterways. Many developers use silt fences and temporary seedings to control sediment on construction sites. And by planting grass, trees, and shrubs along stream banks, homeowners reduce erosion and create a safe haven for wildlife. The Natural Resources Conservation Service coordinates with state agencies and local governments who are responsible for conservation programs to restore health to the bay, as well as the romantic waterway lifestyle chronicled by Michener. The Great Chesapeake is on the road to recovery, but its future lies in the hands of all who share its resources. Just like any valuable resource on this earth, we must learn to use it wisely to keep the legend alive.
Have you heard about this new blockbuster? Humans fall helplessly in love with mechanical beasts that guzzle oil and burp toxic fumes. Unfortunately, this is not a horror film. It's our everyday affair with the automobile. Fortunately, there are some new ideas to make this obsession less deadly.
Electricity. It lights up our nights. It rocks our music. And now it may drive us toward a cleaner tomorrow. Notice anything different about this car? No tailpipe. And that means zero emissions. It runs on electricity. And this two-door sedan can go over 200 miles between charges. It's one of many new electric vehicle designs that can look sleek, sharp, and comfortable, just like traditional automobiles. But they don't take a bite out of the environment every time you turn the key. The World Resources Institute, a research and planning group concerned about the global environment, see the electric vehicle as an attractive alternative to the gas-powered car, one that could help avoid a head-on collision with air pollution or global warming. Early electric cars had a short range and took a long time to refuel. But now, new technology allows us to drive farther and delivers passenger comfort, convenience, and beauty. When electric cars are mass-produced, they'll cost no more than gas-powered ones, and savings on fuel and maintenance will make them cheaper to drive.
Electric cars like this have a number of benefits. There are no tune-ups, there are no oil changes, there are no mufflers to fall off, no radiators to overboil, no emission inspections. They're very quiet, they're fun to drive, and they're good for the environment.
It's far easier to control what comes out of one big smokestack where electricity is produced than the exhaust fumes of millions of little ones.
Judy, how long have you been driving an electric car?
About a year and a half now.
And what do you like about it?
I like not going to the gas station.
How about oil changes?
Oh, I don't have to do that either.
And what do the kids think?
They like it. It's more quiet, and other than that, I don't think they tell a whole lot of difference.
And so you take it home at night and charge it?
Yes.
And what does your husband think?
I think he likes it too.
For too long, our atmosphere has been subjected to the tyranny of the tailpipe.
There are three reasons why this country should be in favor of electric cars. First, they're going to reduce air pollution across the country, which is a serious health problem. Secondly, they're going to greatly reduce greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide emissions. That's going to help reduce the risks of climate change. And third, and one that's not considered by most people, is the fact that they're going to reduce our importing of oil, which is about 50% now and is expected to go higher. So they're going to increase our national security as well.
It may be time to stop pumping regular, premium, and super and let the watts, volts, and amps drive us into a cleaner future.
Spin the wheels of misfortune. Every time we drive a car, we do just that. Our prized possessions, our cars, are of no value to the environment. They dump pollutants into the air, congest our highways, and waste precious energy. So why not ride a bike instead? In the U.S., more than half the population lives within biking distance to their jobs. Now, if we all pedal more and drive less, well, we may be able to keep our planet and ourselves in better shape. I hope this show gave you some insight about how we can help improve the world we share. Join us again next time as we explore more environmental solutions on today's environment.
If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.